influence lived on in the creation of the ESN schools and the legal fiction that children like Noelle and Maisie were somehow subnormal.
From the end of the 19th century, at least, you have the rise of intelligence testing, and this carries on through the 20th century. These tests often make it seem like there's something like a natural inferiority of intelligence, and it really impacts the way that migrants are understood and treated.
Eugenics and ableism via the ESN schools was about disposing of these children, leaving them to their own devices, removing care, removing love, removing any kind of support, disposing of them. They are not able to achieve or align or become part of this society because they're not ticking the boxes of a neurotypical functioning.
How do these schools function? In some ways they seek to normalize people, to push people towards the norm so they can be seen as more productive and fit in with that system better. But in other ways it just lets people down, it shuts people out, it gives them a worse education.
After they received their dyslexia diagnoses, Noelle and Maisie began to re-evaluate everything that had happened to them, and with it, their self-perception as people who were supposedly unable to learn.
It made me take a step back and look at the past and realise that all these years I was intelligent and I had no idea.
So that was an eye-opener. That really moved me on and getting the right support.
Maisie applied for a place at London Metropolitan University. She wasn't confident that she would get a place, but then a letter landed on her doormat, an unconditional offer to do Caribbean studies. When she opened it, Maisie jumped around the living room in joy. And even better, on the first day, she was able to take her 81-year-old mum with her to see just how far she had come. Maisie went on to get a Bachelor of Arts in Caribbean Studies, then an MA in Professional Writing, then a postgraduate degree in supporting adult learners with dyslexia. Not only that, but she completed the book that she swore she would write, an autobiography of her experiences in the ESN schools, powerfully titled Subnormal: How I Was Failed by the British Education System. Noelle, meanwhile, applied to the council for a tutor to help him with his courses, and suddenly he saw a rapid improvement.
I went from like D's and E's up to C's, B's and A's because I'd been taught how to write an essay.
In 2000, he began to apply for university.
Education is everything. It informs your whole world. You're able to articulate yourself. You can represent yourself on paper.
To Noelle's surprise and utter delight, he was accepted onto an information systems course at Brunel University and secured a Bachelor of Science degree in 2003. That certificate sits proudly in his living room alongside 15 others and next to the map of his parents' home. And around this time, Noelle's dad came to visit him from Jamaica.
I think he kind of realised that there was actually nothing wrong with me, and she couldn't have believed what he was told. He sees me getting on with life and I'm doing things and having qualifications and working. My mum says he died with that in his heart, that I was in that school for so long and he was powerless to get me out.
From there, Noelle trained to become a teacher. Although his health prevented him from becoming a full-time teacher, he still hopes to work with children and young people, delivering workshops about his experiences. But his proudest achievement to date is that he's self-published a children's book called Jake's Alien Adventures. Noelle and Maisie are, I think, truly remarkable. They each found liberation through education, although I think they'd both say that their self-worth is bound up with more than educational certificates. But their success also brings with it a profound dissonance. On the one hand, a greater understanding of the self and an increase in self-belief, but on the other, profound grief for the lives that were taken from them.
Speaking to a lot of my patients and service users, a lot of them have come up with the fact that it feels like they've now had to start a whole new identity.
Jenny Okolo is a mental health occupational therapist who often works with adults grappling with late diagnoses.
On one hand is great, but then on the other hand, how do we now undo all of the trauma that this person might have experienced because of not getting the right support?
To this day, black people, and in particular black women, are more likely to have conditions like dyslexia, ADHD, and autism missed or diagnosed late. For Jenny, it starts with the research. Even at the time Noelle and Maisie were at school, research for neurodivergent conditions had been conducted primarily on white boys. That has meant that presentations in other groups, including white women and other ethnicities, have either been missed or misunderstood as character traits.
A lot of the traits that are related to neurodivergence often gets overlooked in black people and are otherwise labeled as being aggressive, not being able to pay attention in class, and staff, other health professionals, or even just family in general don't necessarily look at actually what is happening here, instead of, oh, this is just a behavioral issue.
Even if you overcome these obstacles and actually obtain an accurate diagnosis, Jenny sees a lot of people like Noelle and Maisie grappling with their newfound identities.
There's a sense of feeling that maybe part of your life has been robbed. And I totally understand that, because imagine going through life thinking that, okay, maybe I'm not good enough, and putting all that pressure on yourself when actually it's something that couldn't have been helped, regardless of how hard you worked, if you didn't get that right specialist support.
Noelle and Maisie are working on a campaign with the law firm Lee Day to ask the government to acknowledge and apologise for what happened to them. But getting justice is an uphill struggle. One of the first barriers is overcoming stigma. Although hundreds of children were affected, so far only a handful have come forward to speak publicly about what happened to them. And I can't help but wonder how many of those children had additional neurodevelopmental needs, and how many, like Maisie and Noelle, were diagnosed late, if at all. Just as Maisie and Noelle have had to reassess their lives, this episode leaves me feeling that as a society we still have to address the entrenched ideas that began centuries ago and which still live on today. Black children with special educational needs and disabilities remain disproportionately likely to be excluded from school, to become homeless, or to be institutionalized. I've spent my life interviewing inspirational Olympians and sports people and celebrated scientists, but Noelle and Maisie are on a different...
There's always been curiosity.
Activist. Definitely was a builder of the bridge between music and charity. Superstar.
17 Grammy Awards, 4 British Awards, 2 Ivor Novello Awards.
This is the story of Sting.
Eras. Sting.
Our boy done good. From the terraces of Wall's End to sold-out stadiums across the world. Join me, Vernon Kay, as I get into the career of one of Britain's best-selling artists.
I knew I could sing, I knew I could play. I just needed to get lucky.
Listen now on BBC Sounds. Just search Eras Sting.
Now on Radio 4, Worse Than Murder reinvestigates the disappearance of Muriel Mackay more than 50 years on. Jane McSorley picks up the story in a moment of high drama and reckoning for both Muriel's family and her kidnappers.
The one morning as I looked out, I thought, wow, all those police vans and cars and everything, oh, what's going on now?
On the 7th of February 1970, 9-year-old Frida Hussein watches from her bedroom window as policemen come down the lane towards her home, Rooks Farm. They say they're there to search for stolen jewellery.
They were searching, obviously, the whole house, taking fingerprints everywhere.
But soon, the Hussein family are going to get a big shock. Frida's father and her uncle are about to be arrested, not for theft, but for the kidnap and murder of Muriel Mackay. It's been 40 agonizing days since Muriel was abducted. Detective on Muriel's case accompanies his officers down the long, winding lane. They pass tumble-down cowsheds, pig huts, and a sign warning of guard dogs. It's eerie, cold, with fresh snow on the ground. At the front door, they're met by the owner of the house, Arthur Hussein. He has a moustache and thick black hair, and he's wearing a white roll-neck jumper. When he's presented with the search warrant, he casually tells the police, in a smooth West Indian accent, that they can look where they like. He has nothing to hide. Quickly, the police start to find clue after clue to the contrary.
Bill Smith finds tailoring shears. He'd noted that when bits of Muriel's clothing was sent, they looked like they'd been cut with tailoring shears.
This is the writer Simon Faulkner. His knowledge of this case is granular, drawn from interviews, police documents, and witness statements. He's been helping me piece it all together.
John Myers goes into Frida's bedroom, that's Arthur's daughter, and she hands him 2 paper flowers as a greeting, which are almost identical to the paper flowers found where the suitcases were to be left. They find more paper flowers in the Volvo and in Nizamuddin's room.
Nizamuddin, Arthur's younger brother, is also at the house, and he's quickly implicated as well. An officer immediately identifies him as the man driving the blue Volvo at the ransom drop the previous evening. And there's more too.
There's an exercise book with pages torn out. Those perforations matched exactly the perforations on a page of one of the ransom letters. They also found writing paper which is similar to that which Muriel's letters were written on.
But there was nothing linking directly to Muriel.
There was just no trace to be found of Muriel herself at the farm.
When asked about the evidence that police have found, the Hussein brothers both plead ignorance. But for Bill Smith, it's more than enough to arrest them. Incredibly, Arthur seems relaxed. He's happy to go with the police and insists he'll help in any way he can. Nizamuddin, by contrast, is anxious. Arthur tells him not to worry, that they'll be together. But DCS Smith has other ideas. The brothers are put into separate cars and driven down to London for further questioning. The police can't risk them colluding. They don't know which of these men is M3. At Kingston Police Station in southwest London, the Husseins are fingerprinted and each given something to eat. The police want to make sure they have the energy to withstand a grueling round of questioning. They find that Arthur has no clear alibi for the night of Muriel's kidnap, or for the times key phone calls from M3 were made to the Mackay family. In spite of the evidence already found in his home, Arthur denies any knowledge of Muriel Mackay.
Arthur was incredibly nonchalant about his arrest and very quickly he began a conversation with the police officers in the car about how popular he was locally, how he was planning to join the Huns. He didn't seem to really comprehend the seriousness of what was going on.
Police then turn their attention to Nizamuddin, who is far less calm and collected than his brother.
Nizamuddin's hysterical, refuses to speak, and he keeps going into a kind of catatonic trance.
But slowly, he starts to give away a little more. He tells officers that Arthur always gets him in trouble. Though the Husseins won't talk, the police aren't having any difficulty mounting a case against both of the brothers. The forensic team find Arthur's fingerprints on letters sent to the Mackays by M3, as well as evidence found at the family home in Wimbledon on the night of the kidnapping. And officers in the incident room trawl through the huge amount of information amassed over the previous weeks with their new suspects in mind. Arthur's movements, but she's loyal, protesting his innocence. Regulars at the local pub paint a less flattering picture. They say Arthur is a boastful, heavy drinker. Police take statements from a number of local women who claim he sexually harassed or assaulted them. Police also claim Arthur was discharged from national service due to a psychopath personality diagnosis of army doctors. They've already begun to question his mental state themselves. Simon Farquhar
question. Apparently, he said that he looked forward to a film being made this Monday with Sammy Davis Jr. playing him, Richard Burton playing Will Smith.
Amidst all his wild stories, there's one the police are genuinely interested in. Arthur Hussein claims to have connections to media titan Rupert Murdoch. Alec Mackay. In the early days of the case, the family held a number of press conferences to get the word out. But officers also suspect the family of sharing information with the press behind the scenes. Information that police would rather was kept under wraps. And from the same newspaper started the Murdoch group that Alec worked for, printed Muriel's first letter, begging her family for help.
Who is doing this? Is it the family? Who's got these copies? Bear in mind that they were photographed, but they weren't with us in form of photograph until quite a while later.
As the media frenzy reached its peak, the Mackay family decided to hold back, going into a media lockdown. The front page splashes didn't seem to be helping. Quite the opposite. They might hinder the investigation. DCS Bill Smith briefed his officers too.
The CID officers on this were left with no qualms that if it was ever discovered that anybody had any contact with anybody in the press, we were left with no doubt what was going to happen to us.
And yet somehow the media still seemed to have a steady flow of information. Recalling his time covering Muriel's disappearance in the 2001 Anglia documentary Manhunt, The Press Baron's Wife, produced by Ray Fitzwalter Associates, crime reporter Michael Flaherty says he actually did pay officers on the case for information.
I would go to public houses with them, they would give me information, and on occasion money would pass hands, because the information wasn't exactly free. There's an old saying, there's no such thing as a free lunch, and in journalistic terms, there's no such thing as a free policeman.
There were also leaks that were hard to trace. Who told the London Evening News that police had bundled the ransom drop on February the 1st? A story the police had to insist be axed in case it blew their operation. Wherever they were coming from, leaks continued to plague the investigation. In February, reporters finally caught wind of the fact that Muriel was taken by accident in place of Alan Murdoch, something the police had managed to keep out of the papers for over a month. This leak could compromise the case. The Husseins have access to the news in custody. They could use the revelation to adjust their stories ahead of the trial. Alec Mackay has to deny the rumour, even though it's true. And the papers soon move on to a bigger story. No matter how many times officers search the farm, there is no trace of Muriel. No hair, no clothes, no fingerprints. It's as if she's never been there at all.
It's perfectly plausible that she was kept in one of the outdoor bits. She does say in one of her letters, "I'm blindfolded and cold, only blankets." But it's possible that that's why the clean-up was so good, because she was just kept in a shed or something. But also, forensic techniques then, there was no DNA. How much could they search with very primitive instruments?
Nowadays, police dramas have made us accustomed to sterile, fast-paced, and high-tech search operations, full of UV light, DNA testing, and satellite imagery. But the search for Muriel was conducted with just dogs and the naked eye. The thing is, even though they can't find Muriel's body, the police are convinced they have the right men, as DC Peter Rimmer recalls. It all adds up.
The continuity of the evidence pointed to just one thing. Arthur and Nizam were on thing. They did have her.
The police are confident that the blackmail charges will stick, and the Mackay family need justice. Police need to make sure the murder charges sticks as well. Courts are cautious. They follow precedent set by other cases, and securing a murder conviction without a body is a tall order. Something the police are aware has only been achieved a handful of times in several hundred years. Simon Farquhar again.
The way that it's proved is obviously circumstantially. You've got to prove circumstantially two things. One is that the victim is more than likely dead, and the circumstantial evidence of these people having been responsible for it.
Police need to develop convincing theories about when and how Muriel died, and show that there is circumstantial evidence that the Husseins are responsible. on December the 30th, 1969, and she said in a letter sent to the family that she had heard Diane on the television.
Please, just let my mother come back.
But following Diane's interview, the trail goes cold. Ahead of the ransom drops, the family begged M3 repeatedly for proof that Muriel was alive, but he rejected each request.
We got the letter, but there's no proof in the letter that she's alive and well. She might be dead now, we don't know. There's no reason for the proof to be given you now, right now. That's the last contact we ever contacted you.
The only reasonable explanation must be that M3 didn't send the family proof because he couldn't provide it. Muriel was already dead. As to how she might have died, the police are trying to form a picture of that too.
In Arthur's bedroom under the bed, there's a sort of shotgun, one barrel of which had been fired since it had been torn down. In the cupboard of the cocktail cabinet, there's a box of cartridges, and then there's this plastic vial of tablets which turn out to be tranquilizers. I think it's significant that they were stored with the weapons.
These items together make a chilling picture, but again, the evidence is only circumstantial. Without a body, police can only develop theories as to what might have happened to Muriel. From M3 demanding a ransom of £1 million. No matter how much the Mackays insisted, they had no way to access such an unreasonable sum. When M3 realised he wouldn't be getting the money, he must have followed through on his threat to end Muriel's life, and the police hoped that a jury would think so too. Although, as DC Peter Rimmer recalls, was far from a done deal.
With jurors, you could never be confident. Nobody responsible of how did she die. There was never full confidence that they would be convicted of murder.
After months locked up in prison, and in spite of the overwhelming evidence gathered against them, the Hussein brothers still won't talk. Or at least they won't talk to the police.
After when he was on remand in prison, he did say to another prisoner, I mean, how much you can take us as reliable, he said, they're not going to find her, they're looking in the wrong place.
For the most part though, the brothers are keeping quiet. Neither seems prepared to grasp on the other.
Quite hard to keep your mouth shut for a long period of time, particularly if you're in the sort of state that someone like the Samadin was in. Arthur had obviously just say nothing and nothing will happen. One prison officer said the only time he saw Arthur waver was when his prison officer said to him, your brother just confessed. And Arthur momentarily looked really shaky and then realised that it wasn't true.
On June the 15th, 1970, the Hussein brothers have their final visit to the Magistrates' Court. They're committed for trial at the Old Bailey on 7 counts: murder, abduction, secreting, 2 counts of blackmail, and 2 of sending letters threatening murder. Afterwards, they're taken back to Brixton Prison.
My partner, John Hodgson, he was handcuffed to Nizam. One of us said, well, we won't be doing this for a long time now. Because bear in mind, we've been back and forth whenever they were in court. Well, Nizam exploded on us. He launched himself across the ramp. The gist of it was that Nizam realised that the evidence was heavy against them. First and last time I saw Nizam react.
DC Rimmer and his partner used their free hands to hold the brothers apart until the prison guard opens the van and the brothers are led away. It's the last time that they'll see each other until the trial in 3 months' time. And their fraternal loyalty would stand the wait. Next time on Worse Than Murder.
I just want to find my mother's body. Do you know how soon?
Worse Than Murder is presented by me, Jane McSorley. It is produced by Nadia Nady, with sound design by Basil Oxtoby. It is a Telltale production for BBC Radio 4. 7 Days Alone. Tony Smith, the former Director General of the UK Border Force, hopes other nations will follow.
An additional injection of resources into any of our enforcement teams is always going to be welcome. But the big challenge, of course, here is that most of the criminality are enforced for granted. Further afield in Europe, and we will need the collaboration of Europol, of the member states and others, European Border Agency, to tackle the gangs.
Government borrowing has risen by £1.8 billion compared with the same month last year. The Office for National Statistics says £3.1 billion was borrowed in July, adding that it was down to a rise in the cost of public services and benefits. Police in Romania have raided the home of Andrew Tate, a controversial social media figure, and announced several new charges against him. They include trafficking underage people and money laundering. Tate has previously denied earlier charges, including human trafficking. British holidaymakers will have to pay a €7 tax to enter most of the EU from midsummer. The European Union has confirmed a visa waiver will be introduced within the first 6 months of next year for several countries. The document will last for 3 years as long as a passenger's passport is still valid. The BBC broadcaster Lauren Laverne has revealed she's having treatment for cancer. In a post on social media from the hospital, the Desert Island Discs presenter said it was caught early during screening and that she was expected to make a full recovery. Waitrose is planning to open 100 new convenience stores over the next 5 years as part of a £1 billion investment. It's also upgrading some existing shops to add dedicated housing sections. BBC News.
Today's archive of 4 ladies and men story of the workers from Ghana, the Philippines, and Sri Lanka who trafficked operationally to work for a small and Scottish fishing company. The years of justice is the equivalent on invisible souls and lives. But next, it's time for Women's Hour with Laura McGowan.
Hello and welcome to Women's Hour. Our listener week continues where our programme ideas have been decided by you. And in a moment we'll discuss Widow's Fire. Now this is something I was previously unaware of, but I never offer you asked us to explore it. It's about a compulsive desire for sexual gratification after bereavement. One listener said it's taboo to talk about, but that Women's Hour is a place for could. So we will. Also today, are you a hoarder or a minimalist? One listener feels that the current craze for decluttering is just having one more thing on our to-do list. So, is it time to bless the mess and love your stuff? You know, maybe you like being surrounded by your many belongings. Or does clutter drive you crazy and your decluttering will continue? I want to hear your experiences. Text the program 84844 on social media. We're at BBC Women's Hour. Or you can email us through our website. Or WhatsApp, or voice note, or message. That is 0300 Also today, about how a DNA test changed her life. Sarah is calling and I've just read this morning that the Irish journalist, author, and trailblazing family Simon has died at the age of 80. Now it was part of a group of women who staged what they called an invasion at a place called the 40 Foot in Dublin Bay, where women were banned from swimming. And according to my friend, a very real phenomenon. We would both be very interested to hear it discussed. Well then, another listener, Lizzie, also wrote to us saying, I would really like to hear something about a much ignored side effect of sudden bereavement, and that is the need for instant gratification, financial, emotional, and sexual. And went on to say, I think it's one of the best ideas when speaking about death, is to put the fact that it was even worth through the years. Well, to have a frank discussion about this, we have Lizzie Ripper. Good morning. Welcome. And also, beside Lizzie is Stacey Hill, who's written about her experience of being widowed in the book Now Is Not the Time for Flowers. Good morning, Stacey.
Good morning.
And the second therapist, Lucy Beresford, who can shed some light on what might be going on. So Lucy's going to stay with us for a couple of key items on today's programme. But let me start with you, Lizzie. And first, I'm very sorry for your loss. Your husband died suddenly 18 months ago. How would you describe his life-affirming experiences?